Peoria Regionals just came up, or just happened last week, and one of our members, Nate, actually was in the tournament. So, Nate, why don't you let us know how the tournament went for you? You know, what did you see? People you met? You know,
it was a big
tournament.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a really big tournament.
Yeah, I mean, one of the largest tournaments, larger than most of the ICs last year. So, like over 1,700 players. I got bodied, to say the least. No, it was
one deck.
By one deck. So I chose to play colorless Lugia. And all the testing, I felt like I had great matchups into the entire field.
Right.
With the exception of 2 decks. Guardy was very much a 50-50. And I knew it would be about 10% of the room. It was. Maridon was like a 75-25 in their favor. And I was like, you know what? I'm willing to take that loss. It'll be like 10% of the room. I hit 3 in 6 rounds that I played. So I opened against a Guardy. That was super close. I took the L, but it was super close. Everything came down to the wire. Then immediately hit a Maridon. Started 0-2, which was not the plan at all. And then took a win against something that wasn't Maridon. So it was Sablezard. Immediately played another Maridon. Bricked and was already playing Maridon, so not a great matchup. Took an L. Played another Lost Box. Immediately won that. And then hit the final, and at that point, when I hit the final Maridon and took the L, that went all the way to game 3, down to like the very last turn in time. And overall, though, the experience was great. I mean, huge turnout. Got to see a huge variance in decks just by looking at the top cut. We're going to jump in and cover it, but just by looking at the top cut, you can see this huge variance. It's kind of crazy. To be fair, with that many players, the difference in being in and out is a point. So the bubble, on 36 is a point. So that top 16 is all basically 35, 34 points. So there's several there that just barely missed. That being said, Charizard was the deck that converted from day 1 to day 2 the best. That's kind of a big deal. I mean, I think we looked at, breaking down meta-wise, like roughly 15, 14% of the meta, which was one of the largest turnouts in decks. And obviously it just did extremely well overseas, converted extremely well into day 2. It just couldn't quite close the gap to squeeze into top 8.
I mean, it's in top 16 for sure. And you got to think, after being so successful in the previous tournament, that people are going to build around
tech for it.
Like, so I'm pretty sure there was a lot of those. I was glad you got to go. It was kind of funny how you got to go. Like, you were just like,
so
like Wednesday, you were just like, hey, I'm going this weekend. I was like, oh, I got to get you your jersey. I was like, oh man. So we had to like scramble. And then Jordan was trying to go, and unfortunately,
I tried to make it. I mean, Peoria last year was one of the best memories I have, just from the Pokemon community in general. It was just such an experience, and I wanted to be able to do that again. But next time.
This guy shows up, forgets his deck, brings a GLC deck to a standard tournament, absolutely grabs the wrong deck box when he's leaving. Yeah. Somebody hands him a deck he's never played. He has to swap deck lists and take the L in round 1. Proceeds to win out. Like almost the rest of the day. He actually played that.
Yeah, I went 3-0 after that round 1, which I won had I not, had to take the L for the late
deck swap.
Yeah, deck swap situation.
He would have made
that was down to the minute too, man. That was one of the most stressful moments of my life. I was like, submit.
He would have made day 2 with a deck he'd never played prior.
What was the biggest surprise deck? And I think we can all talk about it because I think we all will have the same answer.
There's 2 for me, but I think the one that everyone's going to say is, Venomoth Spidops, which...
That was actually,
It didn't convert the way people may have wanted it to, but it was really cool.
It was cool to see something different on stream, too.
Once you know how to play against it, for most decks, it's super easy to beat. That being said, seeing it function live was magnificent.
Yeah. Those tend to be like my favorite streams too when watching like a regional event, is seeing the decks. Like at times you're always seeing a Lost Box or Lugia deck on stream, and it finally was great to see something different. Now you do see people's different variants of those decks, like, oh, he's running Lugia, but when we saw Tyranitar and Lugia, it was different, but it was still Lugia, and everybody's like, well, I didn't know the function of this deck. To see something like that come out of nowhere, like I was like, oh my god, like this, all right, you sucked me, and I'm gonna have to see what's going on and see what this is all about. And it was nice to just see that and see it like it's like a rogue deck. So kind of like to see it perform like that because it was unexpected was great. And I kind of miss Item Lock. So it's kind of.
I love playing Vikavolt. Like Vikavolt was super fun.
Yeah.
That's what I brought to Peoria last year.
it was super fun to just be like, hey, I'm gonna play the game, and you're not gonna use half the cards in your deck. Enjoy. The cool part with this is you have some item lock, but you also have confusion in place.
Yep.
And then you're basically bringing something up in the active with no energy on it. Spite Ops is there, causing that retreat to just skyrocket. Each Spite Ops that's on the board makes that retreat one more, right? So you're adding to the retreat cost. They've got to accelerate energies manually, one at a time. There is no acceleration because they can't use their items. And so now, like, the only thing that deck really just loses to, I guess it's two things. Number one is Path, because Path just shuts off the Spite Ops. Yeah, you can't play your items, but the Spite Ops doesn't there. You can just retreat and KO. The other one, as weird as it sounds, we didn't see him play Colorless Lugia, but Colorless Lugia, you just put a Snorlax up there and it's not confused and isn't affected by the attacks, and it just smacks through and KOs the Venomoth. So, I mean, it was interesting to see the deck in action, and it caught people off guard. I know, like, being in Peoria at the Civic Center for that, when everybody's looking up on stream going, there's grass on stream. It might be the first time grass has touched a stream since Evolving Skies, like Leafy on VMAX maybe. Other than that, grass hasn't been relevant in quite a long time.
Yeah. But what about that Rowan's Mew list? Because that one threw me for a loop. To see Mew in the top 16, one Mew in the top 16.
And it didn't run Genesect, did it?
It ran Genesect.
Okay, so
yeah, but it just had a different win strategy than any Mew list I've ever seen.
That was the highest converting deck in the field. I said earlier Zard was the highest. It was not. Zard was the second highest. Zard did convert well.
You had the highest conversion ratio.
Mew was so, like, almost no one played it, but the thing is everyone expected Mew to do bad. And the one thing we've seen end over end every tournament is when people expect Mew to do bad, it doesn't do bad.
Yeah, you can't.
It shows up and does its thing. New Mew is interesting to see a card like, we got this Luxray V, a card that everyone saw and was like, that card's trash, it'll never get played. And Mew's like, how can we make this work? Let's see, we're gonna judge you to 4 cards. We're gonna play Grabber and yank all the Pokemon out of your hand. Then we're gonna smack you with Luxray and take a couple cards out of your hand, and now you're gonna have a 2-card hand. Good luck, figure out how to play.
Yeah.
It just leave you. Card control. I wouldn't even say control. They weren't controlling a board state or anything else, just card control. And I mean, as we've seen from Guardy, Lost Box, several other decks, in history with trade abilities, etc. Zoroark GX and other decks, drawing cards in the game is good. Having big hand is good. Seeing as many cards as possible is good. When you just tell somebody, hey, you're not gonna get to see or keep any of your cards,
is good.
Yeah. Talk about the winner, and we'll jump in on that one. Raymond Long, there's something to do with Canadians playing Lost Box Kyogre that's just magnificent, apparently. We have back-to-back Canadian regional champions with Lost Box Kyogre. So Andrew Estrada and now Raymond Long. Didn't expect the deck to do well. I thought that if any variant was going to do well, it'd be Turbo Lost Box. And it's just because Turbo can kind of get there on anything.
Yep.
I don't really feel like Kyogre has the greatest matchups, but clearly, what do I know? Raymond proved most of us wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you have that consistency of the Lost Box engine, and you learn how to play a certain strategy with the deck. I mean, the Kyogre is essentially your win condition, and if you can set that up consistently, then you can take dubs.
I mean, I think that half the time, the Kyogre's a win condition in the big matchups, like in the VMAX matchup, things like that, where you're taking big prizes off the bench. I think in some of the smaller matchups, it's probably just Sableye, spam and go.
Yeah, you just play the more traditional Lost Box strat. But yeah, there were a lot of Lost Zone decks or Lost Box decks that were not playing Drapion this time. Like, people just made that call of, I don't expect to see you.
Yeah, no.
I don't need help with Guardy. Yeah.
That was your mistake.
The second part's the part that doesn't get me is I didn't expect to see Mew, but it's a great attacker into Guardy.
Against Guardy,
yeah. And especially, I played Colorless Lugia. I've slipped a Drapion in, not because I expected to see Mew, but because I could accelerate a double Turbo Energy and 2 more energies really quickly to a Drapion and knock out a Guardy EX and not have to worry about it anymore.
A 1-card tech that gets you there against 2 of the best decks in the format. It seemed like a really weird call, but I was like, man, people just really aren't expecting the Mew matchup, I feel like.
the 60 card lists are getting tighter and tighter. A lot of these new VMAX were, if they ran Path at all, it was a one-of. Path wasn't stapled anymore. They were focused on, the grab of the Luxray, some more control aspects. And it's weird, but to think the new Path deck isn't Mew or Arceus, it's Miraidon.
Yeah.
Miraidon.
I mean, once you use that ability to get the board set up, though, like you don't really need abilities beyond that point. So
tandem unit, go burr, set up your board, and then drop the Path. And the funniest part about that is in the Miraidon mirror, you tandem unit, go burr, set up your board, drop a Path, and now if they can't bump it, they can't tandem unit, go burr. They just lose.
Yeah. Going first equals good.
We got to see a lot of weird stuff throughout the tournament. Obviously, of the 8 decks that made top 8, you've got 3 Lost Box decks, 2 Miraidon, a Mew that threw us all for a loop, a Guardy, which I don't think anyone's surprised to hear Guardy was in top 8. The last one was Grant Shin, who playing Chi-Pao backs. And I was surprised by this one. There was actually quite a few very strong players on the Chi-Pao train.
That's what I would have brought.
That's
what I would have brought.
If I would have competed, it would probably be one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite ones to play on stream. Jordan's list. I like it.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed playing with it. I've been playing it more recently, and it's a lot of fun.
It just feels like, and this is just me personally, I could be wrong, but just the setup's always smooth, and it feels very consistent. So I dig it. And the thing is, the deck's very straightforward. So
now, if I remember correctly, I think Grant was playing Barrels.
I believe so, but I can pull the list up. Yeah,
the barrel
2/2 line of the barrel.
And just 2/1/2 Baxcalibur.
Well, no, 3 fridge, 2 backs. So it's just one of the other variants.
Oh, it's the other fridge back. Okay, I see.
It's just a different artwork. The list is interesting. 2 colognes, making sure he can go cross switcher.
Yeah, he really wants to cross switch their mana fees so that he can Greninja multiple times.
Absolutely no boss. So literally supporters were Irida and a single Iona.
The cross switchers. My list doesn't play boss either because I'm playing the cross switchers.
That list literally wants to play an Irida every turn. It clearly worked. Cheap deck to build. He piloted it great, and it's so weird for me because all of last season we got to see Grant Shin the majority of the season playing a Arctura deck. So to see him play something different is kind of almost crazy to me.
The time for Arctura is past, though.
You say that, but every time it's passed, it sneaks back around. It's almost like Mew, but nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise to me was no Lugia in the top 16.
Yeah.
There was 2 really close. 2 guys just missed the mark. Lucas lost his winning in or tied his winning in on stream. Ended up bubbling out of 16th in top 8 if he'd wanted to have been in top 8.
Well, you had a lot of Miraidon with Pat, though. You had a lot of that to compete with.
13% of the field roughly. It was there was 2 Miraidons.
Well, there was a good
yeah.
They were there.
It converted at the field percentage. I think it converted dead even to day 2. So I think it was like roughly 12% day 1, 12% day 2.
Okay.
It converted spot on. And the thing with Miraidon is it takes a good matchup into Lugia just because it hits for weakness. And Path says, no summoning star. Takes a good match into Zard because if the Path sticks, Zard is useless.
Yeah.
And it takes a great match into Guardy if the Path sticks. That's the thing is that the deck takes a good match into almost everything but Lost Box. Which might be why in the top 4 we saw a Miraidon Lost Box game that did not go in Miraidon's favor.
Yeah.
There was a few cards that I got to see that were 151 cards that were really made an impact. The one that I thought I'd see more that I really didn't was the Mew EX.
Yeah.
I know it made a big deal for me playing it in Lugia. I got to do some cool stuff with seeing a Greninja in Lost Box and just go boss, put up the Mew, copy.
Yeah, I saw that when you were testing.
Yeah.
That was
So that felt really good. There was a few things that just I was surprised. We did get some unique stuff. So like some of the people running Pidgeot, like the Pidgey-Zard list with Arven or Arven-Zard. The ones that are running Pidgeot, I did see some people playing the new Pidgey. So a little bit less HP, but Call for Family is just great. Like throw this dude up here and set up. I'm going to set up whether you like it or not. And then a little bit of a tougher Charmander that could tank so that you didn't get double sniped down by
the 70 HP Charmander.
Yeah.
That seemed to be probably the biggest upgrade Lost Box got from the 151 for
Oh, Zard got you. No, most definitely. Yeah, outside of that, I'm not surprised by the turnout. I do love the meta diversity. We got to see something completely different and a good spread.
Yeah,
it's a healthy meta right now.
It's a very healthy meta for
Yeah.
Pokemon. And then it's only going to get better, too, when the next couple sets come out. Or even the next set.
The next set breaks the game. We can dive into that in another episode.
Yeah.
The next set breaks the game. I don't think anything that's meta relevant today will be relevant.
Yeah.
Post.
Oh yeah. It's I think designed to shake things up. It
Yeah.
looks like.
Well, we get one of those like once a year where a set drops and it just completely says, "All right, everything that you've known about this game, forget it for a few minutes because it's time to start over."
Yeah.
So
It's the
them
power
adding,
creep.
it's them adding something new to the game to keep it fresh. Like,
Yeah, the problem with adding new is great. I love new. I love change. Jordan said it. Power creep is real, and it's continued to be real. And they kind of did the right thing, jumping over to EX and taking a step back from these crazy VMAX Pokemon.
Yes.
Some of these new cards are they're broke. So jumping in, new stuff coming up. A lot of leaks with the Paradox Pokemon and seeing Iron Hands, and I don't know if you've taken a look at these cards yet, but Jason,
No.
when you do,
I haven't
you'll
had a
cringe.
lot of spoilers yet.
Oh,
So
are you up for spoilers, or do you want to wait and be surprised by a set?
I'll take it right now.
I think that's a discussion for our next episode.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Fair.
Yeah, we'll dive into that in the next one. It's definitely something worth diving into.
Yeah, I
We're
was
going to
ready
shake
for
the
it,
meta
too.
up.
But other than that, is there anything else we want to discuss about Peoria before we cut this? You had a good time. That's all that matters, right?
Dude, I had a blast. It was a great experience. Overall, getting to see some friends, getting to watch some great Pokemon, getting to see some unique stuff on stream. It was great. We got a couple of local guys that popped up on stage and got to do
Heck yeah,
some cool
yeah.
stuff.
Shout out to Ryan Ferry.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Ferry.
Yeah,
He
and
has-
Jordan Barrow.
I don't know if Jordan was on stream, but Jordan played his butt off, man.
He was top 64 anyway.
Yeah, he was a game away from. He won his last one. He would have squeezed 16, so it was super close. He played great.
Hey, if you place above Tord, you had a
Yeah.
you had a good event.
Finish one spot above Torch. You just take a picture of that. It's like that's a dub right there.
Right.
Didn't even matter.
I mean, Tyler Keller went undefeated, technically speaking.
405. You go undefeated and
405,
don't
yeah.
make day two.
Yeah.
I think Isla came in, what was it, 57th or something?
Yeah.
Top 64.
Yes, top
so,
64 as well.
Another
Local player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's impressive
I think-
as well.
Jordan, Morrow, and I were on very similar Lost 17.
Yeah, they were similar lists.
I don't know if they were, like,
like
same
4
60,
places
but-
apart.
yeah.
47.
Yeah,
There you
there
go.
it was.
So.
47.
If you're talking about our locals, we had 4 people that were on win and lost. One of them could have ID'd in and went guts to the walls and said, "No, I want to go." I respect it. They wanted to go 7-2 into day 2. They wanted to have a better shot at making that top 8, because going in 6-2-1, you have to go flawless day 2. You have to get up on stage and go 6-0 unless things pan out right, and sometimes you can squeeze in at like 5-0-1. But really have to go 6-0 versus if you went in 7-2, you can afford a loss that day. So I mean, I respect it. They didn't get the dub, didn't quite squeeze in, but I respect the decision in the play. And they got points either way. 6-3 still was a top 256 points. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really wraps it up.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. See you guys next time to talk about Paradox Rift and blow Jordan's mind with what some of these new cards do.
If you can't tell, Jordan loves them. His mind is blown. But yeah,
It's my favorite.
see you guys next time.
Laters.
Take it easy.